If you don't have a therapist, don't do this.
This is Yadira Harrison, co-founder of Verb.
We broke our company this year just based off of the growth. And every year we're doing it because we're growing so fast.
They won tons of awards this year, making crazy experiences that definitely crossed your feed.
The best experiential agency of the year. When that happened,
Yeah.
what were the emotions, good, bad, all of them?
Oh, it takes a lot to get here. And so I think when people see Verb, all of a sudden, their experiential agency of the year, and it's like, no, we've been here, we've been doing it, we've been killing it.
But it hasn't always been a walk in the park.
But I know, because I'm friends with you, is this year's not been easy.
Everything bad that happened was my fault. As opposed to when all the good things happened, it was like everybody's thing.
You're going from a club
Yeah,
to a company.
yes. You just have to keep going. You have to keep, pushing forward.
In this interview, Yadira tells me how it all went down.
Man, I wish we had this conversation before. Like, this is just therapy for me. Welcome back to Public Beach.
I love
Does it
it.
feel like any time has passed?
No and yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime, but it feels like it was also yesterday.
We've been doing this 3 years.
Yeah.
It was I met you.
Yeah.
And then I was like, do you want to be on this content series I've never done tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then we've done it every year since.
Yes.
What's happened in this year?
In this year, oh my gosh, it's been wild. It's been an interesting year of economic downturn, upturn,
Yeah.
product launches, Barbie houses, flying houses, experiential agency of the year from
Yes,
Ad
we'll
Age.
talk
I mean,
about
it's been from lows and highs. Yeah.
For first of all, you did the Barbie house, which everybody knows. We can just say Barbie house and
Yep.
people know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
People know what the floating up house means as soon as you say it.
Yep.
And your experiential agency of the year, and it feels like, oh wow, they just blew up.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know,
Yeah. No.
like, what does that take to get to have this year?
Yeah, it takes 6.5 years of like nose down,
Yeah.
building team, figuring shit out, operational creative excellence. What does that actually mean? A leadership team that's amazing, putting them in place and still putting them in place. A team that is ballooning, and you have OGs who are superstars, who are teaching some of the newer folks who have probably a lot more experience than them, but don't know the way, don't know the culture, because that's so important to us. Like, it takes a lot to get here. And so I think when people see, oh, Verb, all of a sudden, their experiential agency of the year, and it's like, no, we've been here, we've been doing it, we've been killing it. But I think it's now time that the world gets to see that. And so we're happy that the world gets to see that now.
For people who are building agencies or studios or whatever,
Yeah.
for the first few years, did you know this year was coming?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we actually call it our Giant Spoon year. Like, Giant Spoon had this really amazing Westworld activation for South by, and it
Yeah.
felt like there was like Giant Spoon pre-Westworld and after Westworld. And so we always knew, we just kept saying, we're just waiting for our Westworld, we're just waiting for our Westworld. And Barbie hit, and that was our Westworld. But we had a moment where we really couldn't, tell the world about it because it was just getting so much press. And so we, wanted to make sure with client that like the narrative stayed about Barbie and stayed about Airbnb. And so for us, it was just like, we think this is the moment where it's going to,
Yeah.
move over, and we're going to, have that Westworld moment. And it's actually just now coming. So yeah, we always knew, we're very confident, like a quiet confident,
Yeah.
So.
When you've been working on something for 5-6 years and suddenly press hits, what does that feel like?
It feels amazing. We've had press before, but I think it was more so about like myself and my co-founder Shannon, where it was like more profiles about us or, some work that was like out there in the world. But it's very different when it's like press like this, where when people talk about Barbie, right after like the movie and the image, they usually use the house. And so that is something where it's like, oh, we really had an impact on culture. To your point, like you say the Barbie Dreamhouse, and people are like, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
It's a very different landscape. And so even now with like the Up House on the cover of the New York Times, you're seeing that, and people are just like, wait, did y'all do that? That's real. And it's just like, no, that is real. That is actually happening right now.
What I love about all your work is like, it's real work. It's like, I didn't see it from you, by the way, the Up House. You never sent it to me.
Nope.
I didn't see it in Ad Age. I just saw it in a meme somewhere. And then I saw another meme. And I saw, like, where I get my news from is like social media.
Clear.
And I saw it outside first, and I was like, oh, that's a neat thing.
Yeah.
And then I saw you, and I was like, wow, that was you. And that's like the best kind of thing where you're like, oh, my friend just showed me this meme.
Yeah.
And that's you.
Yeah, we get a lot of that where people are like, is this you? And like, yeah, that's us. And is this you? Yeah, that's us. And so
do you ever get stuff that's not you?
Yeah, and we're like, that's not us.
Yeah.
And and every now and then, some stuff I'm like, look at it. You can tell that's not us. But every now and then, you want to say like, yes, because there are really great, folks out there doing really great work. But I think people are always really excited when it's us. And so they're always wanting to like, root for us and like post about it, all those kind of things. So they're always like writing to us and like, is this you guys? Is this you guys? And it's just like, no, yes, no, yes. A lot of times it is a yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did it feel like to be the best experiential agency of the year when that happened?
Yeah.
What were the emotions, good, bad, all of that?
It was surprising. It was like, to be honest.
I had promised you, by the way, that when you win Agency of the Year, that I was drunkenly rush the stage and grab the award and give a speech.
Yes.
I did not do that.
You did not, and I was waiting.
You were like, Shannon's going to be mad. Don't do that.
I was waiting on that. But yeah, it was like a surreal moment. I think we were, I don't know where I think we were in doing NBA House for All-Star Weekend for the NBA. And I think we're in a meeting, and I opened up my email and I was just like, I think we just won this. And we were shocked because, our plan was, okay, we just want to get on their radar. We think that, we did really great work last year, clearly especially with Barbie, but we, created another like proprietary event for a group called Hello 7. Yeah. We did this really great year with Nielsen. So, we'll try. We just want to get in front of them. But, never did we think, we were immediately would win, especially when we knew what was coming, now and this year. And so we were like,
wait, there's more work coming.
More work. Yeah. There's more work, And so, but for us, we were just like, it feels really good to have that moment where it's like all the hard work, all the things that we've been doing and like busting our ass as a team is like validated. And then the vision that myself and Shannon cast, is coming true, and the other people are seeing it. So it felt really, really good, and honestly, just like an about time. Yeah. Yeah.
The reason why I want to have this conversation with you is like, there's a lot of people who are starting things like this, not like this, but like starting things, and I think what they look up to you and they look at like, wow, experiential agency of the year, they made this cool piece of work, they made this cool piece of work. But I know, because I'm friends with you, is this year's not been easy.
No.
Like no year is easy.
No.
But even the best year where you're on top.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've seen you and we've just sat next to each other.
Oh my gosh. And just looked at I always talk about that, like just French fries, Aperol spritz, and just look at the night sky. Like,
how can someone who's having the best year on paper publicly be in a place where you're like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to happen. I don't know if I want to, like, can we dig into
that?
Yeah,
yeah. Because, folks don't know, even on our teams and things, like they don't know the depths of the things that we're all, dealing with as founders, or even on CEOs. But I think it's a little different with founders because you have a vision, you know what you want to do. It's not like coming in necessarily and running somebody else's company. It's deep within you. Like I've had to do a lot of, therapy about separating myself. I am not Verb. Like, poor Shannon has to always say, like, you are not Verb. It's okay. Like verbs, if there's ever failures or the failures, like those are not your personal failures, but it's very hard to feel. And, it just feels like we're one. So it is hard because, last year when, most of our clients are in lifestyle, tech, and entertainment, well, entertainment strikes. So there goes some, a good part of your business. Tech, layoffs. You're emailing people in the middle of, deals, negotiations, proposals. One person, we were 2 or 3 days out from launching a campaign. You send an email, bounce back, they got laid off. And so if you're thinking about that, that's what somebody where you already have the work, when you're in the middle of getting work, doing proposals, doing all this, pitch work or talking to people, about doing stuff. and all of a sudden that goes away. So there's 2/3 basically of your business gone overnight. And then you have to make a decision. What's the decision? Do you, keep everything and everybody? And you've seen, especially in the world of agencies, everybody knows, certain clients go away, layoffs happen.
Yeah.
Certain, revenue drops to a certain point, layoffs happen. And, we were advised, to be quite candid, we were advised to lay off. And we were at an offsite, our team offsite. And we were like, yeah, we're not doing that. We know ourselves. Tell us the number we need to go make, and we're going to figure it out. And that's just how we operate through the world. But what comes with that is stress, because what you don't know, you can't predict the future.
Yeah.
So you don't know that entertainment's actually not going to get back to work that soon, and tech is still going to continue to have layoffs. And so you're just fighting and fighting and fighting. And the reality is, you're probably putting in money, or you're trying to figure it out. And so you get to a point where it's like, okay, now we have to really make some tough choices. But I think, high risk, high reward. The risk for us was we can't do that. One, we just, as people, we're not going to lay off our team. We're not going to do that. That's just not who we are. The part two of that is we know what's coming, because it's like that Westworld moment. We know there's an after Barbie. And once we hit that, it's like, what are we going to do? Lay off everybody and go back and hire them? Because it's like people are going to want to do the work. And so it worked in our favor to keep everybody together and just hunker down and figure it out. And it was tough. It was really tough. We had some really tough conversations, between myself and Shannon, but we figured it out. And now the other side of that is being blessed, 5 times that. Yeah.
And now you're like, how do we hire people fast enough?
We cannot hire people fast enough.
Yeah.
At this point, at some point, and probably around February, mid-February, we were probably 35 to 40 people, and now we're 85 people. And we would just show, we started
Congrats,
doing,
by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We started doing these daily stand-ups, and Shannon and I were every day on the Zoom, who's that?
Yeah.
Who's that? Who's that? We had to do a founder meet and greet, because we were we don't know anybody here, it feels like, and you're going to dinner with people.
How does that feel? Because you start with a really tight-knit company, and I know you take everybody to a trip, and you know everybody, and everybody's personal relationship.
Yes.
And because you started also in a relatively closer to COVID time, you kind of in each other's bedrooms.
Yeah.
It's through video.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you have people that you in your company that you might not know their name of.
Yeah.
What does that emotionally feel like?
Oh, that was strange. I thought about you a lot, actually, because we've talked about this of getting when you have new team members and they're trying to get to know you, and it's but I feel like these folks they know, because they know us before there was real HR. Yeah. They know us before there was real accounting and finance. They know us before those times when everyone's running around. And now with new people, it's you're seeing a different side of us, a more grown up side of us. But it is weird. It is hard to put into words, because on one hand it feels great, because it feels like this is working. This is how this is supposed to go. Also because teams should be hiring, leaders should be hiring. We are not blockers anymore. That's how this should start to work. We don't have to interview every single person. But on the other hand, it feels can I be myself? Am I now this CEO or founder, and I'm untouchable and unreachable? And Shannon and I always have this back and forth, because I'm all about being ghost mode. My whole team knows I want to be a ghost. I want to be just in the background somewhere. Casper the Friendly Ghost, friendly-ish. Yeah. And I just want to be in the background somewhere and just, seeing the things that are happening and guiding along the way, but really for Verb to flourish and to be able to do that, so we can go build the next thing. This is the first stop, not the the only stop. So it's weird, because now you have all of these people, and you're trying to be normal and be yourself. And I had a team member ask at a team dinner where there was half new, half OGs, and they were how do you feel? And I was I don't necessarily feel safe yet, because we're still really new people, but we do take the time to get to know everybody, and as much as we possibly can, and have those one-on-one relationships, be in folks' DMs, see them on site. We still flew everybody in, well, a good amount of the team in, We had 3 other activations going, so everyone couldn't make it. But getting to know everybody, and I like to do one-on-ones with people. So like even here, we have a team here, and everyone's like, "Is it like an interview?" But I'm like, I just like to sit and do this and like talk and like let's really talk about not just work, but like life. What's going on with you? Yeah. And so I think that's really helps. And so all of the newer people now really feel good and feel we get so many great notes of just like never been at an agency like this is amazing, like everyone's been so welcoming, everyone's so supportive, no one does blame, I can't believe it's true.
Does the people who have been there for a long time, do they hit a wall of like, wow, this is changing or whatever?
I think they did. I actually think before like this massive explosion, I think that they did, and I think it's because we actually weren't set up with organizationally, where it was like you can see where you were going. So I think that they were just kind of like anytime change was happening or new people coming in a trickle, it was just like, well, what about me? What happens with me? And I think it's very different now that they can actually see where we're going. And because we have a lot of superstars, and especially younger superstars on our team, that they're seeing how much responsibility they're getting, how much they're moving up in the company. Now they're managing people. I think people are starting to see that now that we kind of have like that hierarchy in a sense. Where they can feel that, and so they don't have so much pushback, and they take great pride in saying like we're Verbies, and like let's bring you in and like tell you about who we are, and they feel very confident in that, which we love. So a lot of times they're doing that training for us.
Yeah, it feels like every company is different, but every company is the same.
Right.
Like we went through the exact same thing.
Exactly.
If you could go back 2 years ago even and give yourself advice on like what's about to happen, because you're going from a club to a company.
Yes.
And what is like if there's anyone out there that's doing that right now, do you have any advice for them that you wish somebody told you 2 years ago?
Oh, I feel like someone actually did say just like stick with it. We've been talking to a lot of like new founders, new entrepreneurs who are going and doing their own agency or consultancies. It's like stick with it. In the beginning, 2 years ago, when we did this, that can, it was just kind of like, we're here, we're kind of making our way, we're still figuring it out, we got like a couple of things under our belt, but it still felt like this was far off.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like we were going to get here quick enough. And it's just like stick with it. We have been fortunate that within 3 days of the business, we had big name clients, good amount of money, a great runway. And I think last year is really what tested us. And I think we needed that to go from a club to a company. It made us like push ourselves. And so I would say through like the bad things or the things that feel like, I'm never going to make that revenue goal, or I'm never going to get those employees, I'm never going to get those clients, or whatever that is, no one's ever going to see me, stick with it, because there is. It's like you just have to keep going. You have to keep, pushing forward. Will Smith had, it's really right now my major motivator, but he had this clip a couple weeks ago where he talked about the difference between like great and excellence, or good and great, and like what it takes to get there. Yeah. And what it takes is just like stick to itness. It takes, a vision and sticking with that vision and like pushing forward.
Even when people are upset, people are like, it doesn't feel good. Yeah, it feels like a personal failure.
Exactly. It can feel very much like that. And I think remembering, especially for those of us who are founders and entrepreneurs, of like, you have a choice. There is choice. There are hard choices, but is a choice. And if it feels too much or too overwhelming, or it feels like it's daunting, we're never going to make it, there is a choice that you can say, no, I can slow all of this down. It is a very hard thing to do, but that's a real thing I had to actually say to myself of like, if this thing feels like it's getting off course, or it doesn't feel good anymore, I can also say no and figure out the next plan and go back to just like myself and Shannon, just like in the beginning where we said we were going to consult. And everyone was like, you won't be consulting. Our business coach was like, you will be producing. Yeah. It was very different, but it's like we can go back to that. Yeah. And I think, in the back of our minds, that is like the last resort, if ever. But you have to remember that, because we all got into this for freedom, essentially. Yeah. The freedom to say yes, the freedom to say no, the freedom to do what we want to do. And the minute that you feel like now I am enslaved to the business or to the team or to the work or to whatever that is, I think that's where it doesn't feel good. And I think that's where we were a little bit last year as well, beyond just like all the outside things. It was also because you just feel this, I don't know, this unnerving of I'm responsible for all things and I can't turn this around.
Man, I wish we had this conversation before off camera, because that would have been good for me. Like, this is just therapy for me, because it feels like we all, you talked about, first of all, I love the you create something, right? And you're so excited. You're so excited to get people involved in it. You're so excited for people to be excited to be involved in it. And then you said you start to become like a slave to your own monster.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this monster is its own thing.
Yeah.
And I am, and everything. And which weird thing is, like, you are a slave to the monster, but at the same time, anything the monster does that's bad is your fault.
Yeah.
And it's you are bad.
Yeah.
Anything the monster does is good.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But anything the monster does, like if it goes and wreaks havoc, if somebody's upset, it's you that is bad. How are you able to separate yourself from the business?
I am now.
How?
Actually, you and Shannon, having just conversations of just like realizing that what's bigger out there, and like detaching yourself, because it can get very unhealthy. And I remember actually having a conversation with my therapist, and she was trying to get through to me, and I was like, Dr. Dom, I can't. It's not. No, this is what it is. And immediately, usually right after therapy, I call Shannon. And
second therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is what I learned today. And I was telling her, and Shannon was just like, oh no, like, no, it's totally separate. And I fought her, and I was just like, no, that's not what it is. It's very much me. I am the company. Like, it's us, and she was like, no, I do not feel that way. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then we got off the phone, and I think that night I just kind of sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, let me actually break this down. And I remember I was talking about like detaching ourselves. And I was like, you know what? There's a way to do this where it's healthy, where everything, because also what I noticed was everything bad that happened was my fault.
Was your fault.
Was my fault.
Everything that happened in the company was your fault. And everyone who was upset in the company was your fault.
Yeah. It is, as opposed to when all the good things happen, it was like everybody's thing. And I think that was just like, especially because I deal with so much of the operations of the business, and we keep breaking our company. That we just broke. We broke our company this year just based off of the growth, and every year we're doing it because we're growing so fast. And I wasn't seeing it as, just like fun growth. Like, this is just part of the problem. This is what happens. Doesn't matter how many founders I was talking to. This is part of the problem. Yeah. I saw it as just like this team member is unhappy. This vendor can't get paid on time and fast enough. This, like, I just kept seeing all of these problems, and I'm a bad person. I'm not making it happen. I'm not making this machine that I need to be a machine, yeah. and it's not going. And at some point, I think after just talking to the both of you, I was just like, okay, I think I'm gonna. I wrote it down on my whiteboard, detach myself, both, and that's what helped me. I kept coming back to that.
Do you have to find something else to attach yourself to? Like a hobby, a thing, like what, or a practice, or like how do you do it?
Yeah, life. I went back to living life. Like, we kind of went into this, for the last 8-9 months of working on all this Airbnb stuff. Like, you're just like down in it, because we had our Mr. and Mrs. Smith campaign, we had MBA. So like all of this is happening at the same time. And May 1st is when Icons went live. And so May 2nd, you have a little bit of relief, but it wasn't until Shannon and I did a retreat that it just felt like, you know what, I got to get back to myself. We got to get back to ourselves. What is it that you want? What is it that I want? We had to have like we were like inside, like we're down, and not even down, like you're winning. Like, it's amazing. We're tired. We're exhausted. And we also realized what used to work doesn't work, and it hasn't been working for a couple of months, but we're moving so fast that it's put Band-Aids on everything. And so now, getting back to me, balancing, trying to find time for joy, shutting off the laptop, being okay.
Do you feel guilty doing that? Do you feel guilty taking time for you that's not time for the company?
I used to. I still do a little bit. like, I'm leaving here and going straight to Portugal. And I already said to like my business affairs director, like, and I'm still available to you,
Yeah.
I'm only available like to you and Shannon or whatever. I'm still on Slack. I'm still, because I don't necessarily want to feel like I'm abandoning the team, but that is some of the things that I'm working on. But I am much better at that now coming out of that retreat, because those are boundaries that I have to put up and make sure that like I'm very much carving out that time for myself, recharging. I now have life coach and a therapist. And it's made a world of difference of just like, we're working right now on my dream calendar. What do I want my dream calendar to be? Shannon does this. And so I heard her do it and I was like, oh, I want to do this too. And so I'm working through that right now of like, how much time do I actually want to spend at work? How much time do I actually need to be out doing something? How much time do I need to be out dating? Meeting people, doing something that is not just Verb.
Shannon feels like a lot of a stable like person, and that's probably why I'm closer friends with you.
Yeah.
Because we're both chaotic and crazy. And we both got caught up in this thing.
Yes, at the same time.
Instead, she was just like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Driving the boat.
Yeah,
it's good.
she had
I'm
worked
not the
through
boat.
all of it. Yeah, she had worked through all of it. And I think that's what makes her so amazing. But it's like at the same time, I'm like, no, it's just me. No,
You're like, I am the boat, and the boat is drowning, and everybody hates the boat. And,
she's like, no, it's a yacht, and it's over there, and you can catch it. And I'm like, and I make my way over there. But I think that's what makes us such great partners in that yin and yang. But I think that's what makes us really great friends, because it's like we go through these things. Like I said to you, like I feel like the person I met, 3 years ago is not the person that you are now. And I know we had a lot of those like deep conversations, and I feel like it's the same for me. And I think that we, worked with each other and, figuring out of like, what's next? How are we getting through this? How is all of this not affecting us? And how can we like put it at bay and like get back to the real sense of us?
The person that you, not to make it about me, want to.
Make it about you.
The person that you met 3 years ago is not the same person that is now.
Yeah.
And you said that that's the growth we've been through.
Yeah.
And that also might be the disconnect of the people that met you 3 years ago that, don't know what you're going through and met you now.
Yeah.
What is that change that you go, it feels like it feels like whether people want to do it or not, but business is the greatest, starting a business and running a business and growing a business is the greatest form of self-therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is that change that's happened in the few years? I'm sure that's like 100 things.
Yeah. I would, it's interesting. It's changed my dynamic with friends, because especially friends who work at other companies, because we don't have the same dynamic. And a lot of times when I'm talking or chatting with them, well, I think it's two things. I think once when I'm talking and chatting with them, I can probably see their employer's perspective faster now than I can see their perspective. And I think that doesn't always make for great conversations when somebody wants to talk to you about their job and what they didn't have and what they didn't get and what is owed to them. And it's not that I don't believe those things or those things are validated, but I am thinking on the other hand of like, do you understand cash flow? Do you understand, you understand all of this other stuff on the back
You're
end?
a terrible friend to have.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, you just can't show up for them the same way when beforehand it was like, yeah, this sucks and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You're just not in the same place. I think that's the first. I think the second is with success, one of the things that I'm working through now was like, nothing is my own. I'm working through this with my life coach, where it feels like with more success, time is not my own. There is now when I go to a meeting, my head of ops like runs down the calendar, Yadira is here, 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 here. And I'm like, I don't want anybody to know that. It's just weird. And I have to say that. I was like, these are my boundaries. It's a weird thing, but it feels like I'm losing my anonymity and I'm losing like my decision-making power. But like I'm now responsible for people and people are now responsible for me and what is actually mine. And so I'm working through all of that right now in therapy, trying to figure all of that out. But, I don't know. I think that with nothing being your own, with success also comes, with friendship. You might need to talk to my assistant before you talk to me.
Yeah.
If I'm planning something or doing something, they're doing, and it feels so impersonal, and it feels like, how dare? How dare? Do they, and it's just like,
and do you feel bad about it?
I used to.
Oh, I feel terrible about it.
I used to. And my business coach, Rachel Rogers, was just like, yeah, no, this is, there's a reason why we have teams. And teams are to help us and to support us in all aspects. And once she said that to me of just like, yeah, this is where it's supposed to be. Every now and then I feel a twinge of guilt because I'm just like, oh man, I should have remembered it was your birthday, but it's just like, I remembered enough to put it on the calendar to ensure that the assistant got the thing out and did the thing. Yeah. And yes, it's not necessarily the same, but it's like, but I remembered in that sense, and that's just me. And I used to feel a lot of guilt about it, actually, especially last year. I felt a lot of guilt about it. And I think I just moved into a place where I'm just like, that this is just my life now, and this is just how I operate. And if I don't operate this way, then all of this starts to fall down. This is just now the system. And there's other ways to be close to people or have those friendships, but not everybody sees it from the same angle on the other end. And so they see it as a distancing, or they see it as,
you're too good for me.
You're too good for me, or you're being new, being brand new. And I'm like, I'm usually, I can be brand new with people, but that's not necessarily the case. It's just I'm in a different space, and my time is very, very, very limited. It's limited, and it also is costly. So yes, I want to do all of these things, but I can't plan, a trip or whatever it is without help. I don't even know. I can't even send Cal invites anymore without getting the time zones mixed up. So I'm helpless.
I feel like I've lost the ability to ask questions, and now I'm just this is the most, maybe the most unrelatable conversation, but for the 10% of people that are going through this, because I've interviewed some people that are just starting companies, or just starting, or their spouses are starting companies or whatever, and they're going through this thing, and I don't think anybody sees the inside of the house. Yeah. Like I'm saying, experiential agency of the year. Yeah. And then I talk to you, and you're like, dude, it's not I'm not well, maybe through all of this stuff, and I have to kind of separate myself. Yeah. And it's crazy because I think people only see the headline version of you. Yeah. People see what's in the magazine. Yeah. And it's like, wow, life must be fucking great. And
that's what I want them to see. Yeah. That's what I want. You want people to see that. And I'm holding the trophy and it's amazing. And that's what you want people to see. Yeah. But if we want to do a real service to other folks like us, you have to tell the truth. You have to tell the truth, because when we got into this, outside people saying oh, it's hard. Oh, that's being entrepreneurs it's 24/7. And I'm just like, if you don't have a therapist, don't do this. If you don't have great friends and support and family, don't do.
Talk to me about that. You were, I think, a very good influence in my life. You were like, I've got a business coach, I've got a finance coach. We go do this conference, we do this thing. I was like, how do you have time for all this? I'm just working. Yeah. And that shows in your growth. If I'm starting a business right now and we're 5 people, what's important to immediately get? Whether that's within your team, whether that's outside support or whatever, what's important in life?
A therapist. Yeah. Honestly, because to your point, having a company, it is self-therapy. It is 100%. You start to deal with all of the baggage that comes with it, professional, personal. You're dealing with other people's baggage, especially if you have really great, what we always know is we have really great culture. When people come in, they come in with their professional baggage, and they don't believe, what do you mean it's not a blame culture? What do you, and some folks can rise above it, and they work through that and they get there. And some folks still self-sabotage because I don't believe it, because this thing happened to me, an unfortunate thing happened to me before, or someone said, yeah, you can trust me. And then they trusted them, and next thing you know, they're fired or whatever it is. And it's just that's not what this is here at all. And so, I feel therapist. I feel like that's the number one thing. A really great accountant. Yeah. People wait way too long to do that. That was one of the first things that we did. Even just a bookkeeper in the beginning, I would say, is just probably really great.
You had a fractional CFO very early on.
Very early on.
I didn't, and I was like, oh man, that was such a good idea.
Yeah, you have to have that. I actually would say a really amazing creative. That's one thing I think we waited way too late on.
Yeah.
We just brought in an amazing executive creative director, Kendra, and where we were and what we were doing and how we were approaching things was great. It was good. It was like Will Smith, but this is great. And it's like you can feel and see the difference. And I think the other thing is bringing in a head of marketing and growth, because with all of this, you do need somebody who's helping you to manage the brand, manage what's going out there, clients, what's
having
coming.
Conversation.
Yeah, having those conversations, following up, because we're walking around Cannes now, like, hey, yeah, call me, and then it's just like I don't have time to call you. I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so now somebody's job is to call you and to follow up to ensure that we do get in the room with these people. And so I would say those are probably the first few people that I would say that you want to have. I would say for like marketing and growth, you need to be that person in the beginning. We had to learn to do that, and that was uncomfortable for us. But therapist, some type of financial something, a really great creative mind.
And it kind of depends on who you are, right? Like I feel like you said like, oh man, how do you get creative, right? I was like, that's easy.
Yeah.
Because like that comes easily to me.
Yes.
And then I was like asking you about like, how do you operationalize this thing? Like how do you, and you're like, idiot, that's like so easy. And it was just different. And I think it was not enough people reach out to enough people.
Yeah.
And I think people are worried people won't respond.
Yeah.
I think people are worried that like, no, I know what I know. Like, I don't want to seem like I don't know.
Yeah.
I reach out to like a junior data analyst and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, is this for a job? I'm like, no, I just kind of wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that people don't reach out to enough people and make friendships across like, oh, I'm also doing this, because it's like there's a therapy in that.
Yeah.
How many times have we sat together and just been like, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, be like, fuck yeah, this is amazing. Let's party. Let's go.
Yeah.
And it's been like, you kind of follow, what's been awesome about this, and I think this might be the best thing to wrap up on, is we started kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
And we didn't know each other then, but like a year or two in, we kind of met. And it feels like even now this conversation, that everything I'm asking you and you're saying, I'm like, oh shit, you went through that too? I didn't know you went through that.
Yeah.
And we're friends and we talk all the time, and I didn't know you went through like that exact emotional thing with the business. And then when you meet other people, everyone's kind of going through the same.
Yeah.
And it's not publicly talked about. I think people say it's hard, and they don't define what the hard means.
Yeah.
And the hard is different at every point in the business. It's hard is different when you're 5 people. Hard is different when you're 50 people. Hard is different when you're 100 people. And the emotional journey of that is like, okay, separating yourself from a thing, finding a person who doesn't even know you in the business, and you were friends with everybody.
Yeah.
And like somebody being upset and you taking that. There's different points in the journey that different things happen, and we don't talk about that. So there's just like a bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about, but this has been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope this is like helpful to people that are watching, that are going through that piece.
I hope so.
Because I think people don't see the good. I want to say the good.
Yes.
And the bad.
Yeah.
And the change that you have personally.
Yeah.
While you're scaling a business of our kind.
Yeah. Because it's great. It is great.
Yeah.
It's just you have to work through these things that are just part of the. So I call these like milestones. They're not even like problems. It's like these are the milestones when you on the path to success and you're building success. This is what it is. And so these are the things that I wish folks would have probably told us that now we are telling other people.
Yeah. Awesome. Also, I didn't address this, but you can buy this. This is a shoppable video where you can buy this pet lion if you click somewhere down here, and you can purchase this stuffed lion that we will give to you. You will win from this Cannes lion, this very cute lion that you can buy here. Thank you so much for doing this one more year. And I hope we do this for many years.
Yes.
And I hope every time we have something for somebody who's maybe a couple steps behind or a couple steps ahead or where we are or whatever.
I love that. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Again.
This is a perfect journal entry every year.
It is.
Yeah. We can look back when we're 80 and just like...
It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Thank you, guys.